We come from the land and we'll go back into it again. So this is a very important land, Australia, what they call Australia now. But the world needs to know the truth of our people. People say, oh, Australia's a lucky country. Australia, we're not lucky. We're not.
There are many injustices and there's many structural inequalities in Australia in relation to Aboriginal people.
We are a nation of people living within a nation. And at this very moment, we feel like that we're refugees in our own country because we have still got to justify to the government our rights of who we are.
We put in native title to show the world that we are the traditional owners of this land. And we're still not recognised in the Australian government constitution.
The fact that Australia was occupied by Aboriginal people and then settled without consent and with force by white people is the unhealed wound in Australian body politic and in Australian thinking and psyche and how we do business. There's deeply unfinished business in black-white relations in this country.
Trying to see things from Virginia's point of view, it must be like history repeating itself.
We say no, like we say, Adnyamathanha, that's leave the poison alone. Leave it, we don't want it.
In 2015, the Australian government nominated 6 locations around the country to build the nation's first nuclear waste dump. The following year, one site was selected in the Flinders Ranges in South Australia. Located on traditional Adnyamathanha land, Wilpena Station is also in close proximity to the iconic Flinders Ranges National Park. If this project goes ahead, the facility of 100 hectares could be ready to receive nuclear waste by 2021.
The federal government plan is to set up a national facility for the disposal of low-level radioactive waste and for the interim storage of longer-lived waste, intermediate-level waste. This is the latest part of a plan that has been going for more than 20 years in different sites right throughout South Australia, Central Australia and the Northern Territory. Government of whatever shade, conservative or progressive, has adopted the same basic approach of trying to find a remote area to effectively locate all of Australia's waste sort of out of people's sight, out of people's mind and a bit off the radar.
In stage 1, they only took the nominations from the non-Aboriginal partial leaseholder, and they actually told us that we were told, because there's no native title in this area because of perpetual lease, that it didn't matter, they didn't have to talk to Aboriginal people. When we first started, they actually offered that they could buy back the whole of Wilpena. All they wanted was 400 acres so that they could put the waste dump in, and they said that we could, give you a lot of money if you start working with us. They've only promised $10 million, and that's for the whole region. $10 million. They put $2 million up front, and that's for disruption monies.
The tourism industry in the Flinders Ranges injects $150 million to $250 million a year. And the government is offering and dangling a carrot, we call it, of $2 million in front of the people in the communities here.
Well, that sort of money will only last a year, but this contamination is going to last forever.
We don't want a waste dump on our front door. We don't want a waste dump in the Flinders Ranges because this is the icon of South Australia.
That's the scary part of it. I mean, it's in close proximity to the Flinders Ranges National Park and Wilpena Pound. Wilpena Pound is one of our main attractions here in South Australia.
If we poison this place, we're going to poison everything, and there goes the tourism.
Beautiful, very, very nice.
Oh, we love it here. Been here many times.
It's beautiful, yeah. It's just the whole ambience and the countryside and the rock formation's all lovely here.
And whenever the summer rain would fall, the creeks would all come down, and I'd sit and watch the water fall down the gullies of Wilpena Pound.
We don't want to go one day up in the airplane and say, oh, see down there, that's where the aquarists are, there's the serpents there. See over there, there's the waste. You don't want that. You don't want a dirty, great big dump here, you know, in beautiful country.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. Not going to happen. Not while I'm alive.
It's been quite a shock to us to learn about the horrifying thing that they're going to do to this area.
No, that'd be a shocking thing for the Flinders Ranges or for the district. It wouldn't be good at all.
I really think Australians have to do some, like I'm German, some long-term thinking. Yeah, especially like in places on Aboriginal land, like close to the Flinders, it's just shit.
It's a very divisive idea because some people in the community think, well, possibly we've got a responsibility so that people can have access to nuclear medicine. There's a lot of myths and a lot of pressure. Some people think maybe this is a way that we can get some jobs and dollars and some training and some opportunity for our young people.
It's not going to happen. There's 15 jobs offered and they're making people believe that there's other jobs waiting, and it's not.
I'm against the government's manipulating our people and giving them money. We'll give you money, let us put that waste there. That's not the way it works.
It's causing conflict within, it's lateral violence, families are breaking.
It's affected not only my community but the white society, white fellas, Woodnews, the communities as well, you know.
Some of them lived here for 150 years, since colonisation, since that early settlers. These people, they don't want to get poisoned. They love the land so much, you know, and they've got no voice as well.
Personally, I feel as a small group, we're being targeted with a responsibility to say yes or no to a facility that, is a solution possibly for a national problem.
I think the Australian government needs to realise that it's following an approach that's failed for 20 years, and to keep following a persistent pattern of failure is not an approach that's either innovative, responsible or guaranteed for success. So we need to make thoughtful decisions for the long term, not look for a quick political fix to what is a really complicated and long-term environmental and human problem.
What they do is divide and conquer, and they know they know how to act with people.
I just want more of an open conversation because I feel underneath there is an agenda that we're just not hearing.
Many people have a really deep instinctive distrust of the government process and particularly of the product of radioactive waste.
The history of Australians voting for anything that smells of nuclear industry hasn't been good. There hasn't been the political will to do it.
If the government representative was sitting right here now and then, I said, listen, you're only here for today, then you're going back home. This is our home.
That area of the proposed waste dump is very spiritual because of the burial sites here.
This area is called Walkeri. Now, Walkeri means grave. It's not only for the humans, but we also talk about the megafauna that are buried here. This place has got so many different names, and it is so significant to the Adnyamathanha people.
The place where they're looking to do it, there's a lot of seismic activity there.
They know that there's little tremors, as they say, but they say that their engineers can build a building that will not crack. Now, they're saying it's for 300 years. Over 300 years, believe me, I think the building will start cracking.
Aboriginal people are the oldest living continuing culture in the world. They have a real good understanding of long time, deep time. And when you say 10,000 years of management, 10,000 years of threat, they get that, they can think long and they go, wow, this is a serious decision.
The same barrels that they want to put out here, they had the same kind of barrels over at Woomera, and that was 30 years ago, and that's actually leaking.
This land, we're on a major fault line. We got underground spring waters. You need better stability.
If you were to take this intermediate waste back to France, where they brought it over from, it's actually really high-level waste. And they want to store it here above ground in a place where it's actually a flood zone. There's flood plains all the way around here.
The Hookla Creek, it is prone to flooding. There we've got a gum tree graveyard where floods have happened, and the township of Hookla was completely washed away in 1956. Washed away.
Water is our most precious commodity. It's something that no matter how much guarantees that they give us that it's not going to poison, it's not going to do this, it's not. If there is an accident and if it does poison this land, their guarantees mean squat.
They keep talking about world's best practice. It's very safe and be the world's best practice. But that's fine until there's a human error. And look at the ramifications you have, like in Fukushima.
Nature, you can't predict nature.
If there was to be a disaster there with that, it would flow into the freshwater, into the aquifer, into the Spencer Gulf, out into the St. Vincent's Gulf, out into the Southern Ocean, out into whatever ocean, the Indian, the Pacific, the Atlantic then. Areas would be poisoned, the lands would be poisoned.
It's one planet. We're all brothers, we're all sisters, you know.
They would destroy not only my culture and heritage, they will destroy a whole lot of people's livelihood here.
I can't see it boosting tourism because people just don't want to go where there's contamination.
I don't know. I don't know how it would impact, but I'd say that'd be probably a no.
Well, it's hard to say. You'd have to see what the effects were. But yeah, you could ruin the water supply and all those things that are underground. So it wouldn't be very good. No.
No.
You wouldn't?
No, I would be out there protesting that happening.
I don't think I would come back. I think I'd be too concerned about the effects that it would have on the water that you're showering in and all that sort of thing.
It'd change the place, wouldn't it?
We still live off the land, we still hunt our kangaroos, emus, the women that collect all the berries, all the native fruits and that. We connected to the land, we spiritually, physically.
The Hookma Springs is a birthing place, a healing place, and it's a sacred site for women.
It's a very important place in terms of the water. There's a permanent water hole.
The youngest dating was 3,000. The eldest dating goes right back to Guantanamo land, which that water actually rained on dinosaurs.
Our heritage and our culture rights are still there. My sister Regina and Heather have done the storylines, and it's authentic, it's registered, and we have an Indigenous protected area on our property.
Ukna's actually a bibiawi, and that's the baby water, and that come from a young woman that died here and was buried here. And when her young husband came and realised that she had passed away, the vacu, the bellbird, he came and he was comforting him with this song, and it goes, vacu idla wanga wangama, vacu idla wanga wangama, vacu idla wanga wangama, vacu idla wanga wangama.
They want to put it on the Seven Sisters storyline. Now the Seven Sisters is one story that links all Aboriginal women. So if they were to talk about the Seven Sisters and about the impact on it, they're going to have to talk to each and every Aboriginal woman in Australia.
Yaka nyundu vurdlia mango nyumanali abamba nyurambe 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 arapa marapa.
The Australian government would do well to pause, to know that it can take some time because there is no radiological or regulatory constraint to the material being stored at the ANSTO facility in Sydney.
They keep saying that they want a place to keep. They've got a place. They've got Lucas Heights. Leave it there.
Lucas Heights reactor spent hundreds of millions of dollars upgrading it 10 years ago, 8 years ago I think it was. But to spend $200 million revamp it and then all of a sudden come along and say a few years later, oh, we've got to move all this stuff out of here. When they got 500 hectares, they got heaps of room to store it for another 20, 30 years.
Yeah, so what's the hidden agenda?
Exactly.
There is a need. We don't deny it. There is a need to put this way somewhere.
The question isn't where, it's how. It's not what community, it's what range of options do we have.
If we do it, we've got to do it. But we've got 30 years of storage time left at Lucas Heights to talk about it and do community forum, Australian community forums, not just local community forums.
We're just calling for non-imposition on an unwilling community. We're calling for extended interim storage at the best suited place to host this material, and we're calling for an independent, rigorous and evidence-based assessment of all the options, because ministers come and go, politicians come and go, environmental activists come and go, radioactive waste remains, country remains, Aboriginal people remains.
You know, these creeks and that, they tell you history, give you history. This is a water source, this is life. You got wood, fire, water. Where did you grab this? Food here, you got food here. Why you want to spoil this place? All because of the greed of money. Money doesn't last long. These trees will be still standing. Yes, Australia is a big country. It's open. But our culture, our law, and our history has to be protected. We need support from you guys. Because we don't want this here as a fairy tale one day. Once upon a time there was a, like that.
I've spoken to so many tourists and they don't even know.
People in Adelaide don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Mum and Dad didn't know what's going on. People in Tasmania, friends down there don't know what's going on.
I need to look after today for tomorrow, because what right have I got to say, oh, it's okay for a waste dump? Who has the right to say it's okay for the waste dump to poison our future children? No one.
And listen to the cricket sing. So do you wanna
Inari wajungapaluyat. Visan ng Rwanda kanila nga. Ngapaluyro jabahari na juwid. Wanda kana juwisan. That means this is our land. Our people walked this land a long time ago, and we are still walking it. Leave that poison alone.
from Wilpena right out to Adnyamathanha. I feel much brighter when I'm breathing that fresh country air. I feel much brighter when I'm breathing that fresh country air. When I was just a kid, I used to play around of Flinders Ranges, Mountain Wilpena.